Okay, take a look. So today we're going to do 01, 02. We probably won't get to 03, but hey, high hopes. Continue on with 02, 03 on Wednesday. And then 04, 05 on Friday. Again, high hopes. But here's the quiz information. On Friday, in class, you're going to have, and that's not, that is correct. We're going to do a measurement conversion quiz. That's what I was going to do. That's what I was going to do. So I'm going to post by tonight quiz number 1. It's called quiz prep. They are not mandatory, but it's an example or basically a practice quiz. It's going to be just like the quiz. It's quizzes in class, open no, quizzes at home, open no, because I wouldn't have any control of what you do at home anyway. But everything that's a quiz is always going to be an open no quiz. So you're going to get an example of a simple conversion type of quiz, unit conversion quiz. We'll go over it Wednesday. We'll take more questions on Friday. At the end of class on Friday, we'll take the quiz. It'll be maybe at the most 4 questions. At the least, it'll be 3. Sorry, the least it'll be 2. No more than 4, no fewer than 2. But you'll have quiz prep. Practice problems so you can see exactly what the quiz looks like. That'll post tonight. After class at 10:45 a.m. Right after class, the quiz number 2, the online Pearson quiz covering 0.1 and 0.2 homework questions. And it's due on Sunday by 5 p.m. Okay, it's on Pearson. It's not a homework, but it's on Pearson. It'll say quiz number 2. Okay. Quiz prep available today. At 10:45. Five attempts. It's actually the quiz prep. I think it's 16 problems. The quiz itself is only 5 problems. But this has 16 practice problems. I know I'm kind of giving you a lot of here's this, here's this, here's this. Sorry, it's a little bit more organized. But that's why you get to ask questions. You get 2 attempts at the quiz. Because it's the first time, it's kind of like a trial run, but it's the first time. You get 2 attempts. When you complete the quiz, it's going to tell you your score. So if your first attempt, you don't like the score, you can take the quiz a second time. And I'll keep the better of the 2 scores. Infinite. If you like your first attempt score, then don't worry about taking the second one. Keep it. So you got 100%, then why would you take it again? Yes.
You said you were with the homework, you were using a different grading system. Are the quizzes the same way, or
Everything I do in my own grade book, my own grading program. So whatever you see on Pearson, that's not part of your grade. Because Pearson's not gonna drop your lowest quiz score. It's all gonna count, it's all gonna be. The tests we take in class aren't gonna go into Pearson. That's why it's also not gonna go into Canvas. But if I used Canvas, then I'm pulling in grades here, there, and everywhere. Not the Beatles song, but you know, I like to keep that separate. But the bottom line is I have a grading program that I use it's called Grade Keeper. That way everything goes into one place and I can adjust, drop 2 low quiz scores, I can replace things, everything else I can organize, attendance can go in there. So it's all in one place. So let me kind of give you a quick look at the setup of the quiz. So this is what you're going to have access to after class. You're not going to have access to this right now because I want you to focus on what we're doing. When you after class today, you'll see over here. And again, this is just what I'm showing you. This is not going to be available to you because this is going to go away in a couple of minutes. So don't worry about this. As you can see, it says, it says 0.1, 0.2 QP, number 1, ball 26, and it's a copy. So this is just what I'm using to demonstrate quiz prep. And then it says attempts. This is attempt 0 out of 5. We get 5 attempts at this prep. I'm going to click on it. Now here's the deal. It's not supposed to be timed, so I got to go in there and change it. It is not timed. If you don't remember how to work a quiz on Pearson, you can always go through the tutorial. But I'm showing you how to work a quiz on Pearson right now. You can save this quiz to work on later. When you return, you cannot access any questions you have already opened, viewed, or worked on. Be sure to complete each question before moving on or choosing resume later. So once you hit start, you're going. This is not like homework. On homework, you hit save, and then you come back and you keep on working on homework. Here, it's a quiz. So it's a lot different. And again, there are 16 practice questions. On your quiz, it's only 5. So we're multiplying these 2 fractions together. Is my answer positive or negative? Negative. Because you have a negative times a positive. So the answer is going to be a negative. When you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. So it's gonna be negative, you're gonna go 9 times 5, and you're gonna go 7 times 2. And so that's negative 45 over 14. So over here, you have to enter it in. So it's going to be a negative. And here's the fraction tool. And you put 45 in the numerator. You can use arrows to go to the denominator for 14. And then you go down here to next. Okay. If you hit submit, that means you're done. Now, I've had students say, I hit submit, I didn't mean to, can I go back in? If you hit submit accidentally, there is absolutely no way it's gonna let you submit it without fail safes. It's gonna ask you, you have 15 questions, but are you sure you would? So whenever students say, I didn't mean to, it kicked me out, it's like, no. If you hit submit before you were done, it's going to say, are you sure? It's going to keep asking you, you didn't finish this thing. Do you really want to hit submit? Because that's what you've done. It's going to turn into an incomplete quiz. So hit cancel. I'm not done. Now, if I hit, let me do another question. We're going to go next. Do one more problem here. This is 5 minus negative 6. So when you subtract a negative, what does it become? That becomes 5 plus 6, so we get 11. So one thing that's different than the homework, when I type in 11, it's not going to tell me if I'm right or wrong as I do the problem. In homework, it tells you if you're right or wrong. And if you get it wrong, they give you another question. So I hit next. I don't know if it's right or wrong until I'm done. The directions will tell you you have to simplify. In my class, you always simplify fraction. Because a fraction can be represented in an infinite number of ways, but there's only one simplified version. Okay. Okay. Real quick, this is again, when I use the word, I hate repeating myself, but I know I do, because again, 36 years of doing this, want to make sure you get it. 0 in a fraction. You can divide into 0. This is absolutely perfectly okay. 0 over a number is equal to 0. 0 in the numerator, you get 0. You can divide into 0. So 0 over 8, that's a 0. 0 over negative 2, that's a 0. 0 over 1,000, that's a 0. What you cannot do is divide by 0. If you have a number divided by 0, that is undefined. That's what it equals, the word undefined, which means it doesn't exist. You can't divide by 0. So if you have 5 over 0, undefined. Negative 18 over 0, undefined. So that's why they give you this choice, 0 over negative 8. The answer is something, or the answer is undefined. I'll get the answer is undefined because they mix it up. They don't know which one it is. They see a 0, all of a sudden, undefined. And it's just a matter of, I know I've seen something like this before. When I see a 0, it must be undefined. So they're just applying something. I've seen something like this before, but I don't remember what it was. So I'm going to guess. Or number 2, 0 over -8, the answer is -8. But then think about what a fraction is. 0 over -8 means how many times can -8 go into 0? How many times does -8 goes into 0? What times -8 is 0? 0 times -8 is 0. Goes in 0 times. You're dividing. That's why the answer is 0. When 0 is in the numerator. When 0 is in the denominator, if I have 3 over 0, then this question is asking, how many times can 0 go into 3? 0 goes into 3. Well, what times 0 makes a 3? 3. 3 times 0 is 0. What times 0 can make a 3? Nothing. Because every time you multiply something times 0, the answer is going to be 0 no matter what you use. You're going to get a 0. You'll never get a 3. That means you can't divide by 0. That's why the answer is on the 5. So the answer is 0. So now, what if you're working this thing, type in 0. Make sure you hit 0, not an O. Because if you hit O, it's going to think your answer is O. You're going to move on. It's going to mark it wrong because you typed in O. Make sure you type in 0. And then all of a sudden, there's an emergency at home, or you got something else you got to attend to. So you've done 3 out of the 16. Here's where I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to hit save. When I return to the test, I will not be able to access previously. I cannot look at question 1, 2, or 3. Yes. So it says it's incomplete. So when I go back in, it's going to make me start at question number 4. Continue. And I'm here at question up here, number 4. You see right here, I'm looking at question number 4. I haven't done number 4 yet. That's why I can't hit save. I cannot save until I've done this question. Once I see a question, I have to do the question before I can save. So then we're going to multiply a negative times a negative is a positive. So 5 times negative 3.9, so it'll be positive. We get 15 and then 4.5, so net positive 19.5. So I'm just going to go through these quickly, see if I get anything right or wrong. I don't know. If I hit next. I see it's going to be a positive, and that's going to be 7, and that's going to be 7. So that's going to be positive 49. Next. Okay, this was on today's homework. So which of these is the inequality? X is greater than negative 2.7. So do you see an equals? No. And the way we read this from left to right, all the x's are greater than negative 2.7. So if it's something greater than, would it be to the left or the right of 2.7? To the right. Greater than is to the right. So the arrow would have to be going to the right. So it's not A. That's going left. It could be B because that's going to the right. So maybe. This is going to the right, so maybe. And that's going left, so it's not D. So the difference between B and C is that this has a bracket and that has a parenthesis. And the key is this. Greater than
versus x greater than or equal to. What would greater than or equal to compared to x greater than? Negative.
You say what if you're
Yeah, this means that 2.7, negative 2.7 is part of the answer. This means it's greater than negative 2.7, but not equal to 2.7.
I despise the way the book does it, but I have no control over the way they put it in the picture.
When I graph these things, I would have graphed it. There's 0, negative 2.7. Because there's no equals, I would put an open circle and shade everything. It's not part of the answer. They use a parenthesis when there's no equal. That's the equivalent of no equal, just greater than. When they have equals, they use a bracket. So if it was this, it's a bracket. When it's a parentheses, there is no equal, negative 2.7.
But the bottom line is greater than means shading to the right. Parentheses means no equal. Bracket means you have an equal. Now, a little bit of, I try to find something, some way you can make the connection to know.
You see how greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, you got that little equal to line right there? Bracket, a bracket has those little lines. Those straight little lines like an equal sign. So if you have greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, you're using brackets, not smooth curves like, well, if it's just greater than, it's almost like a smooth curve. Less than, almost like a smooth curve. Parentheses. No, in addition to that, you don't have a straight line underneath, so you wouldn't have any straight lines in the picture.
You wouldn't have any brackets in what I'm saying. So the answer is B. Okay, so that's gonna be negative, what do we have here? Negative 5.99, so negative 7.9. That's 5.09, so negative 7.01. I should never do things from my head, but I'm trying. Okay, that's gonna be positive 5. Negative 3. So we're adding fractions. That's addition. What do you need when you add fractions together or subtract fractions? The same denominator, common denominator. So we have negative 3 over 7 plus 7 over 9. So we need a common denominator instead of a 7 and a 9. We need the same denominator. What's the least common denominator that 7 and 9 can go into? What?
What?
Well, that's what goes into them. I can't change them into 1. I gotta multiply, least common multiple, least common denominators. So like 7 goes into 14, goes into 21, but 9 doesn't go into 14 or 21. 9 will go into 18, 7 doesn't go into 18. So what's 63?
So the first number that 9 and 7 both go into would be 63. I have to change the denominators into 63.
a common denominator. To change that into a 63, I have to multiply by 9/9. It's still negative, but the only way to change 7 into a 63 is multiply by 9. If I multiply the denominator by 9, I gotta multiply the numerator by 9, because 9/9 is just 1. So 9 times 3 is -27. Now to change 9 into a 63, I gotta multiply by 7. So this fraction has to get multiplied by 7/7. 7 times 7, this numerator is 49. These are called equivalent fractions. They're the same fraction, just a different denominator. They represent the same ratio. But now I have the ability to add or subtract them because they're the same denominator. Once you have the same denominator, you just add or subtract the numerator. This is a -27 plus 49. All over 63. So -27 plus 49 was equal to 20. Positive or negative 20? Positive 22. So it's equal to positive 22 over 63. Now, you would always try to reduce it if you can reduce. The only thing that goes into 22 is 2 times 11. Well, 63 is not even, so 2 doesn't go into it. And 11 doesn't go into 63 because 11 will go into 66 or 55. So it doesn't reduce. That's your lowest term. (22 over 63). Another number line. This one says x is less than or equal to 1. So first things first. It's less than or equal to. So is that going to be a bracket or parentheses? Going to be a bracket. And then if I'm here standing at 1, which way is less than going to be? To the left. So there's ones. Now, these ones, this one's going left, but it's a parenthesis. It's going to be a bracket. So it's not a. That one's going to the right. X is less than. It's going to go that way. X is less than or equal to 1. That one's going to the right. That means greater than. Even though it's a bracket, it's not B. Here we have less than 1 going to the left and a bracket on the 1. Less than or equal to the 1. So it's B. Multiply again, so we're going to be able to even get. Think if I know, I'm going to put 24 and you've got a little bit more. You got 24, you got a 0.8 and a 1.3, and so 4.8 and 1.3. 6.1. I'm just guessing here. I have no idea. It'd be going my head. Well, that's nice. These are common denominator at the ready. But what happens when you add a negative? This is 10 over 9, negative 10 over 9, and then plus a negative 2 over 9. What happens if I add a negative? You're going to end up subtracting. So this is negative 10 over 9, and that's going to be minus 2 over 9. So what does it equal? I have negative 10 and a negative 2 all over 9. What is it?
At 11. -12, so -10 and a -2 make -12. And you come back to your question earlier. If I type that in, it's gonna be wrong. Because it's not reduced. Right here, it says simplify your answer, type an integer or a fraction. 12 and 9 have a common factor of who? 3. So the answer is negative. This is 3 times 4 over 3 times 3. The 3's are going to reduce. Final answer is -4 over 3. Okay, that's what should be here. And this is question number 13. So number 13, I'm going to type in -12 or an. I'm going to get it wrong. And it should be -4/3. So when I finish the quiz, you'll see that I'm going to have this one wrong because I didn't type in a reduced term. Seven divided by 0 is? 0. Undefined. -8 minus -12, 2 consecutive negatives make a positive. So this is -8 plus 12, which is? I spent $8, then I deposit $12. So what do I got? I lose $8 at the blackjack table, then I win $12. So I'm up $4. Then number 16. First thing I want to do is simplify the consecutive signs. 2 consecutive negatives make this a positive. So this is now -3 over 22. This becomes plus 2 over 11. So now you're adding the fractions. We need a common denominator. What's it going to be? 22. 22. The first number that 22 and 11 both go into evens, the least common denominator is 22. So this one's going to stay 22. And then this one needs to become 22. So this one not going to change, -3 over 22. What are you going to do to this one? Multiply by 2 over 2. 2 over 2. So we have 4 over 22. So -3 plus 4 all over 22, which is 1 over 22. Type an integer or a simplified fraction. Is that going to simplify?
No.
Nope. 1 over 22. So that's the last question. Now, when you're done with the quiz. So 1 divided by 22.
So just to that like text and purple text, and then we can do necessarily simplify, right?
Right, because it is simplified.
Oh, that is.
That is 1 over 22. You know what I will see though? 1 over 22, I will see students just put 22. Seriously, because the concept is, do I have to put the 1? I get that active question, do I have to put the 1? Well, it's not 1 over 22 without a 1. It's a common question I get quite a few times, again, at every level. And so you see here, it doesn't say next question, it says submit. When you're done with your quiz, you turn it in, just like you're in class. So you submit the quiz. Are you sure you want to submit yourself? Yes, I'm fine, sure, yeah. And it tells me what I got 2 of them wrong.
Then I can go to the results. Review. I look here and question 12 and 13. So question 12, that's what I did in my head. That's the answer. And it's gonna say, I typed in 26.1. And the answer should have been 26.66. And then number 13, that's the one I know I got wrong. I didn't reduce, I typed in -12/9. I didn't reduce. Well, when you submit your quiz, it's gonna tell you what you got. So now I have a decision to make. I have an 87.5 on that quiz. I can take it again and see if I get a better score. The best score out of your 2 attempts wins. This is the practice. Your quiz is not 16 problems. This is 5 problems. Okay, 5 out of what you see here out of these 16. I want to make sure we're clear about it. The quiz prep, the ones that say QP, where it says QP, that is not the quiz. That's the prep for the quiz. I had some problems in the past where students did the quiz prep and thought that was the quiz and that's all they had to do. That's not the quiz. So make sure that you see where, where it pops up. It's going to say, and it's not going to pop up until Friday. It's going to say right here, I'll show you. Behind the scenes. There, quiz 0.1, 0.2. First attempt, and then you'll have right below it the second attempt. And you'll have from 10:45 on Friday to Sunday at 5 p.m. So back to 0.1. Okay, we did the number, sets of numbers. Any question about the less than or greater than? So take a look. Back one. No, give them 3. Not a bad problem here. 926 compared to 423. Which one's bigger? 926?
No.
9/26 versus 4/23. Now, you have to insert less than or greater than. So here's one way. You can change it to a decimal. Compare the decimal. Or 9/26. Is that more than a third or less than a third? What's 9/27? That's 1/3. So if I have 9 out of 27 pieces, I have 1/3. So if I have 9 out of 26 pieces, do I have more than 1/3?
No.
if I have 2 out of 4 versus 3 out of 5. Which one's more? 3 out of 5. How about this? Is this more than? More than 4? Yeah. Because it's almost 1/3. 1/3 bigger than 1/4. Is this 1/4?
No.
No. Because you got 4 out of 20, you got 4 out of 24. That's 1/6. This is 1/5. Those are a lot smaller than this. Worst case scenario, you get a common denominator. It's to find a common denominator from 26 and 23. So let's see, we got 23, you got 46. And if we multiply by 3, we got 9, multiply by 4, we get 92. Yes, 2 times 13, that's all. So we gotta go 2 times 13 times 23. So basically 26 times 23, so I'm like, 23 over 23. And then 26, and 26, and we gotta go, this is 180 and 27, and 207 out of whatever that denominator is. Versus that is only be is going to 92 out of 22, 3 times 26. $207 out of this versus 92 out of that. What's big? Same denominator, which number is bigger? With 207. But again, always you can check it with decimals. So if I compare 9.6 compared with 4.3. So this is the decimal for 9/26. That's the decimal for 423. This decimal is bigger than that one. Greater than. Okay. I like this question because it's kind of when it gets in terms of definition. Is this true or false? Of 6 is less than or equal to -6. First of all, let's take it apart. Is 6 less than -6? positive less than negative 6? Yes or no?
No,
Nope. Is it equal to?
no,
Let's walk both ways. -9 greater than or equal to -2.1. -9 greater than or equal to -2.1. So if you're looking on a number line, pick one, let's go -2.1 first. Where would -9 go? To the left or the right?
okay,
Let's further this way. So here's -9. Smaller numbers go to the left, bigger numbers are to the right. So -9 greater than, no, it's on the left side of it, so it's smaller than. That is a false statement. Good. All you do is compare it on a number line. So we did the number lines when we went over the quiz. So there was a lot of practice on the number lines in the homework. Absolute value. You didn't see any of these on the quiz prep, so you wouldn't see any on the quiz itself. But what is the absolute value of something? What do you do when you see an absolute value?
It's the distance, 0.
Wow, I'm impressed. Really, I am, because I've never had somebody just be able to give me that definition. Seriously. I know, but I it's the happen. So here's the deal. There are 3 levels of definitions that we teach students. Elementary school. You see an absolute value, whatever comes out is positive. But we don't tell them why. Make it positive. Absolute value, whatever just comes out, positive. Then, here comes the definition of high school. The actual definition of absolute value for algebra is the distance from 0. What is the distance of a value from 0? Distance is always positive. Why not make that positive? How far away from 0 is the number 20? Well, it's 20 units away from 0. So its answer is 20. And then we get into a piecewise function definition. How does this sign change? How does a negative become a positive? Well, that is a piecewise function that would come at the next one. I'm not going to try to confuse anybody. I say confusion related. So this is just a 20. And then the way we approach this is absolute value of -51. So if we're looking at a number line, here's 0. Here's -51. How far away? What is the distance from -51 to 0? The distance is 51 units. And distance is always positive. So the absolute value of this is positive 51. That's why it becomes a positive. It's this. So then adding and subtracting. Fraction, common denominator, we went over some of those subtracting, multiplying, simplifying. There's the 0 word. Definition of reciprocal. Everybody understand taking a reciprocal?
You flip the fraction. That's 29. So when you take a reciprocal, you don't change the sign, you just flip it. So if your fraction is negative, it stays negative. The reciprocal of negative 12/19 is still negative, and then you flip the numerator and denominator, so it's 19/12. Now, let's get this straight. Unless the directions tell you to write it as an improper fraction, leave it. Sorry, I just said it backwards. Unless the directions tell you to write it as a mixed number, leave it as an improper. Here's the thing. When we do calculations, we're going to be doing calculations with improper fractions. If you get an answer that's an improper fraction and you have the right answer, and then you take the time to fix it to a mixed number, you had the right answer, and then you might make a mistake converting it to a mixed number. That's unfortunate. So leave it as an improper. Just make sure you reduce it to those terms. That's improper fractions are basically they're gonna give you more access to the next level of problems. Work with improper fractions. You're only gonna need improper fractions when you go next door and want to borrow, give me a cup of, can I have 1.5 cups of sugar? You're not gonna go next door and say, can I have 3/2 cups of sugar? You're not gonna give it as an improper fraction. I ran, 1 3/4 miles. You're not gonna say I ran 7/4 miles today. Unless you want to piss somebody off. Negative 19/12. You know what? I've had this question before. I'm not using the fraction tool down here. I can 19/12 down to 12, but because I have a number keypad, I just use the division symbol. So 19, and then I hit division on the keypad. That's my 19. Then I hit the division sign, and then I have my denominator. So, this homework's not that bad. Right? What's the reciprocal of just 8? Well, first of all, what is 8 actually as a fraction? This is 8/1. So it's 8/1. So when you write the reciprocal, it's 1/8. Last but not least, a little bit of division, which if you haven't seen the trailer at D23, they released the trailer for Vision Place. It's awesome. Vision gonna have its own Disney push. It's awesome. When division comes along, you must flip it. Multiply by the reciprocal. So this is, you have to start with negative 14/5 divided by parentheses. And the reason why you have parentheses is because it's negative. You don't want to think it's subtraction. Negative 2/35. So we change this to multiplication by the reciprocal. So we're going to get negative 14/5 times the reciprocal. It stays negative 35/2. Okay. You have a choice of making the multiplication problem huge, but you still gotta reduce it. I wanna show you two ways. This would be the long way home. Is it gonna be positive or negative, positive or negative? Positive, because you got the negative times the negative. So you know it's gonna be a positive. So you have 14 times 35 over 5 times 2. 14 times 35 is going to be 350. So we have 140. So 350. So we have 490 over 10. So since they both end with 0, we can divide by 10. So that's 49 times 10 over 10, and the 10 reduced, the answer is 49. Okay, that's the longer one. Actually multiply it all together and then see what the common factor is and then reduce it. Or reduce before you multiply. Maybe you can reduce common factors before you make huge numbers. Right here. Common factor, 14. Yeah, 14 is 7 times 2. And then 35 is 5 times 7 over 5 times 2. So let's see what I can reduce before I actually do the multiplication. Well, there's a 2 down here, so I can reduce that 2. And then times 5, I got 5 I can reduce. So what am I left with? 7 times 7, that's 49. 5, oh, this is now a 1 times 1, so 49 over 1, just like that. I can reduce it before I multiply. And now I don't have to worry about reducing. Now, you could just go, all right, 2 goes into 14 7 times, 5 goes into 35 7 times, 7 times 7, 49. That's fine. Some of you are going to be able to get there quicker. Some of you need to see all the little steps. That's the deal. Some people are able to do it more quickly. Some people are going to see it in their head. You know what? You're not going to get full credit if I know it needs more steps. And I'm the judge of steps. Okay? Right here, this is the phrase you don't want to see on your test. Work does not justify your answer. That usually means you got some gibberish and then you have the right answer, but the gibberish does not justify your answer. I don't know how that makes sense. Or, no, where's the work? I just get that. Second, are you a savant? You're a savant, then hey, let's get you a job in NASA, right? Maybe at the Rand Corporation. Some secret covert stuff. Let's go to church and see what's council about. Save the homework. Okay. And then I'm just going to pull up the second one. So homework 0.2. Write it using exponential notation. So there's 4 2s, 2 to the 4. What is 2 to the 4? Well, that 2 to the 4 is 16. What is negative 12 to the 3rd? Is it going to be a positive or a negative? Negative, then 12 to the 3rd. So here you're evaluating. Now here's some stuff that we haven't done yet. We haven't done negative exponents. We haven't done fractions to a power, 0. So there's some problems that we have not addressed yet. Now we will go over. Then simplify. Order of operations. That's the rest of it. If it was me, I would focus on numbers 10 through 20. Because I'm not gonna give you exponents on your quiz on Friday. In the Pearson quiz, as you saw, the practice quiz did not have exponent problems. Let's simplify here. So if you're gonna get started on homework 0.2, 10 through 20. Save the exponent for later. Okay? So you're gonna get the conversion table. So if you want to print it out in color, perfectly fine. This is the in-class test. You're gonna get a practice prep quiz for the conversion quiz. 4 problems at the most, 2 problems at the least. On Friday in class, you're gonna get the practice quiz. You're gonna get the Pearson quiz prep available at 10:45. All the homeworks are available. That's good. Yep, that is it for today. Let me take roll. Valerie,
Yes.
Jason.
Yeah.
Manuel. Brad Gill. Brianna Gill. Delaney. Danny Williams. Carmen Guido. Edith. Michaela. Myra Hernandez. Sophia Sam. Nia Hernandez. I'm sorry, Nia Harris. Nakaya.
Here.
Liliana. Jesus. Lorena. Alexa. Yes.
Maybe two that were.
Elizabeth. Jocelyn. Maslin. Cortez. Ashley O'Hara.
That's amazing. Thanks.
Jan Wilson, yes. Mary Jane Torres. Catherine Perez. Paloma Contreras. Juliana Reyes. Yes. Jenny Capone. Taylor Ortiz. Anna Garcia. Guadalupe Mejia. Guadalupe. Brianna Mejia. Miranda Cortez. Miranda. Philippe. Priscilla Ramirez. Manuel Lopez. Emma Martinez. Anybody else? Okay. See you Wednesday. No. Thank you so much. Thank you. The states and equity parts, I think SC stands to be.
One
Mhm.
more thing, sir.
That's fine.
I want, Wednesday, this Wednesday, I just wonder what I have to do, like, what am I-
Well, you always gotta keep up with the home with the home cares. So you have that action this process. There's nothing that you're gonna have to worry about from 0 4 P.M. You have to turn it.
Yeah,
Okay. Email me
yeah,
that you're not gonna be here, so I have it in my file.
okay, do you want you to send that?
Yes, so, email my Outlook account
Okay,
and just say, my name is, I'm here, Porky won't be here Wednesday. Remember I told you, and then your name. And
okay, and then I'll just catch up.
you'll see, you can always see what.
Yes.
Yeah, good, I'm gonna post it. I always post it after class.